Hello, it's Tim from Fair Play Now on the 26th of January 2025. So no videos from me for the last few days. What it is, I had a gig to film, I had a filming gig down in Exeter, so I had to go all the way down there, and I did think I'd have to come back here and do all of the editing as usual, which normally is pretty time consuming, but I was told that there's an editor on hand to do all of that side of things. So I thought I was getting off lightly, but transferring all of the footage over to her has been an absolute nightmare. And what it does is each transfer, which takes hours at a time, and then there's lots of files to transfer as well. Yeah, it just takes up so much time, and it takes up all the bandwidth on the internet here as well. So I haven't really been able to do anything else, making any other videos or even watching videos a lot of the time. So a bit of a pain, but it's all done, and that kind of explains why I haven't really been on very much recently. But it's been quite a week. It started off with Trump's inauguration. So America has a new or a returning president at last. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. I know a lot of people are watching, including you maybe, are interested in what I think of Trump because the freedom movement seems to be divided on him, pretty much 50-50 it seems. Some people sort of think it's fantastic and that he's going to sort everything out, especially with RFK in there as the sort of health secretary. All of the stuff about the V's is going to come out, and hopefully it's going to mean in America, if not everywhere else, that if you never want to have the things again, that'll be perfectly all right. And the horrendousness we saw over the last few years, where the likes of you and me were sort of persecuted, we won't be seeing that ever again, hopefully. So some people think, yeah, it's all a great thing. Others kind of think, no, he's controlled opposition or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, I really haven't got much of an opinion on him. He's just another politician as far as I'm concerned. And all I'll say is the proof will be in the pudding. And if we get 4 years down the line and the United States is a markedly different place, it's a markedly better place than it is now, and he's sorted out loads and loads of the problems. He's exposed the deep state and gone off after them and imprisoned all of the main deep state actors, then yeah, maybe I will sort of think and believe in the kind of hype that surrounds Trump. But until I see that happening or any signs of it, I'm not going to hold my breath, basically. Just going to see what transpires. And but I will say it might be a benefit as far as we're concerned in the UK. I don't think Trump and Starmer are exactly best buddies, but I think it's going to, his presence in the White House is going to hugely kind of modify and moderate Starmer's behaviour, and he and his Labour government might not get up to quite the amount of shenanigans that they might have done otherwise had Kamala Harris got in, because if that had happened, I think they would have had free rein to go sort of full-on tyranny, really. But they might be held in check, if Trump and the rest of them start saying, well, Britain's going to be looking at sanctions if they kind of bring in this tyrannical measure, that tyrannical measure. Who knows? But jury's out as far as I'm concerned. He might be fantastic, he might not be, and that's really all I've got to say on that. It's a very, very wet and windy day here. We've had lots of them. We've had lots of wet, windy days here in the UK over the last couple of weeks, and this is just the latest storm. I say storm, it's just a bit of wind and rain like you typically expect here in the winter in January. But the thing is, when you hear the BBC going on about it and the mainstream media, each time we have a little bit of bad weather like this, you'd think the world was coming to an end. The amount they go on about it is just ridiculous. And then of course they blame it on climate change. You know, if it's windy, oh yeah, that's climate change. If it's really cold, oh yeah, that's climate change. If it's really hot, oh yeah, that's climate change. And you know, it's just such a load of propaganda, such a load of gaslighting, just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely stupid. But anyway, that is my take on that. Had an interesting job on, I think it was Thursday. I had to change a load of lights over for this lady, very nice lady, not too far away from me here. But of course, she had the mainstream media on. Not sure what the program was, but yeah, I had to sort of listen to that as I was working. It's always better if I can be working on power, you know, on sockets, because I can turn off all the circuits to do with those, including normally the TV one. Then I don't have to listen to it, but it was all lighting today. Well, that day, should I say. So I couldn't do that. But yeah, just listening to the way they go on, yeah, they just, oh, it just does my head in, really. Does my head in. They just make such a big deal out of stuff that, yeah, a load of years ago, no one would have thought twice about. You know, stuff like the kind of weather we've got out there at the moment, just which is just, yeah, it's a little bit windy, it's rainy, but it's not really any big deal. And my wife Lorraine said something interesting, because we had a storm, and they were saying how the BBC, they were saying how they had record-breaking gusts of wind, and she actually went and did an online search on this, and she said, yeah, how strong were the winds that we've had just recently, and it said the top gusts, record-breaking gusts, got up to 114 miles an hour. So she then sort of, and they were saying how that's record-breaking and unprecedented and everything. So she then did another search online and to see what the 1987 storm that we had here in the south of the UK, very, very big storm, did loads and loads of damage, and she asked the same question, how strong were the winds? And you know what, it was actually more, I can't remember what the figure was, but it was more than 114 miles an hour gusts. So you can find out this information just with a couple of quick online searches. I think the BBC and the mainstream media, they don't seem to realise that you can just double check what they're coming out with, their so-called facts, very quickly and very easily, and prove that they're lying or gaslighting or just coming out with propaganda or whatever it is they're trying to do. But I thought that was very, very interesting, don't you? The fact that these clowns were saying, oh yeah, you know, it's you know, doom and gloom, record-breaking stuff, you know, it's got to be climate change, etc., etc. And yet, in the past, we've had much worse weather. And that's the whole thing, isn't it, about this climate change? You know, when they go on about sort of global warming, they only ever sort of look at global graphs of temperatures and all of that going back to about 1750. So they can say, oh look, ever since 1750, global temperatures have been rising. Oh, what else happened in 1750? Oh yeah, it was the start of the Industrial Revolution. So it's definitely, this global warming is definitely man-made. But then if you kind of look at the full graph going way back to, times, way past 1750, Roman times and all of that, you see that the temperatures were way higher, and they never sort of show that. Well, if they did show it, it'd immediately kind of blow their whole argument out of the water. Again, they don't seem to realise that the likes of you and me can double check these things and see these things for ourselves and say, hang on a minute, you're sort of not really sort of telling the whole truth, really, I don't think. And yet you sort of try and explain this to people generally out there, and that's when you get called a conspiracy theorist and crazy and mad and all of the rest of it. So I'm a crazy, mad conspiracy theorist, am I, if I just don't immediately believe what the BBC are telling me, and I go and do a modicum of digging and find that yes, indeed, they are telling lies. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you might call that being a conspiracy theorist, but I just call it being a good researcher, being a good reporter, just being good at research, basically. So yeah, it is just absolutely crazy, isn't it? Anyway, it's getting up to 11 minutes or so, 12 minutes on the length of this video now, which is about where I like to keep them. Just thought I'd come on just to touch base with you, explain where I've been and what's been happening, and I'm going to hope to get a few more videos out during the course of this week. I'm not going to leave you in the lurch for quite as long next time. So until then, Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.